Welcome to this tutorial on how to properly construct an MLA works cited page. First off, why do you need a works cited page added to your research paper? Well, for one reason, it helps discourage any type of circulation errors and allows you to give proper credit where credit is due. Remember, it is essential that you tell the reader of your essay where exactly you got your information from. This also will help you prevent any type of plagiarism issues. You must cite all of your sources both in text and also on your works cited page. Now that we've talked about why you need a works cited page, let's talk about what exactly is the works cited page. Well, the works cited page should always be the last page of your research paper. It should come after your closing and on a whole separate new page. Your works cited page should always be arranged alphabetically. It should be double spaced, and it should always list all of the resources you used in your essay. These are any type of resource you've quoted, summarized, or paraphrased. If you have an in-text citation, then you should also have a works cited entry for that source. Preparing the MLA works cited page is simple. We'll go ahead and run through step by step how to complete this. As mentioned before, your works cited page should always be the last page of your essay. It should be a new page that you create that comes directly after your concluding paragraph. You should begin this new page with the simple title, Works Cited. Notice that Works Cited is capitalized, but it is not underlined and there's no quotes around it. Simply just use the word Works Cited. Once you've included the title, you can begin adding entries to your works cited list. Each entry on your works cited page should be broken up into 3 distinct areas or division. If the author is available, you should always begin each entry with the author, the title, followed by the publication information. Each one of these separate divisions is divided using a period. So notice here, a period comes after the author information, first and last name. Then we provide the title section with a period following that section, and then the publication information, and a period following that section. Next, remember all entries on your MLA works cited page should always be listed alphabetically according to whatever is the first letter that comes in your citation. So notice on the sample here, we begin with the author last name Kraft, followed by day, John. Again, this is alphabetical order. Never use numbers or bullets on your works cited page. Each one of your entries should be listed simply alphabetically. Next, many of you may be asking, well, that's great. I know I need to start each one of my entries on my works cited page with the author's last name. But what if there is no author listed? If there's no author listed, then you will begin each one of your entries alphabetically by the first main word of the title of the article. So for instance here, for the Perez, our article title here, listed alphabetically according to the first word there. Here's another example you can see on our sample works cited page. The word for this article is simply passion. They put the article title in quotes and then listed according to the first main word of the title. Next, when formatting your works cited page, it's important that you do not indent the first line of each entry. The first line of each entry should be flush on the left-hand side of the page. Never indent the first line. However, if your works cited entry is longer than one line, you will indent the second line of each entry. Notice the indentation of the second line here and here. This will clearly tell your reader that this information is part of the entry above and will help keep each of the entries clearly identified. Another tip to preparing your MLA Works Cited page is you want to make sure when formatting it that it's double-spaced. It'll be both double-spaced between lines within the entry and between the entries themselves. Typically, if you've already set Word to be double-spaced, there's no need to hit the Enter button twice. It will already be set to be double-spaced. So again, double-spaced doesn't mean hitting the Enter button twice. It means changing those settings within your Word program. Finally, taking a look at our sample Works Cited here, the final formatting of your Works Cited page should look something similar to this. Notice again that the title is centered. It is not in bold, not in italics, and there's no underlining. Simply use the words Works Cited centered at the top of your page on your new page. Next, you'll notice that all titles are arranged alphabetically. Do not use numbers, simply use the last name or the title of the article to list them alphabetically. And then finally, notice that all entries are double-spaced, as mentioned just a moment ago. Now that you know the basic formatting for your Works Cited page, let's talk more specifically about what information you need and how to cite specific sources individually. As noted before, remember each citation is broken up into 3 sections. First, you have the author section, then the title section, and then the publication section. For books, you will always begin with the author's last name, followed by a comma, the first name, and then a period indicating the end of that section. Next, you will include the title of the book, and this will be italicized. Make sure that all titles of books are always italicized, followed by a period after the title section. Next will come the location and publication information. This will always be followed by a colon after the location, comma after the publisher, and a period after the year. And then finally, you'll want to list the median or type of publication at the end of the entry. So in this case, notice we have the author's last name, first name, title of the work, Doing Honest Work in College. Please note that it's italicized. The location or state that it was published, Chicago, the publisher, and the year, followed by the median or type of publication. By listing print here, we're indicating that this is a print source. So this will be your standard type of citation for any book resource you will be adding to your Works Cited page. For articles in a journal, your type of entry will be similar, but there's some slight variations. Again, if you have the author's last name and first name, you will start with that. Next, you will follow with the title of the article. Notice for any type of article in a journal, a magazine, a newspaper, or even a poem, those will always be put in quotation marks. Make sure you include those. Next, you will follow the title of the journal or publication, the year, and then the page number. You only need to include page numbers for newspaper articles, journals, or magazines. You do not need to include page numbers on the Works Cited page for books or novels of that source. Finally, all entries should also contain the medium of publication. So notice here we have our author's last name and first name. Remember, if you don't have this available or your article is anonymous, just exclude this and begin your entry with the title of the article. Notice the title's in quotes, followed by the name of the journal or magazine. So if this happens to be from Time magazine, you would write Time here. Notice that that is italicized. the name of the journal, magazine, or newspaper should be italicized, followed by the year of publication, and then the page numbers, finally including the median of publication. In this case, since it's an article, it's another print resource. So we write print and end that with a period at the end. For articles in a magazine are very similar to articles in a journal. Again, we always start with the last name of the author. However, if the article is anonymous, by now you know you'll begin with the title of the article itself. Next, you will list the magazine or newspaper, italicized, the day or month that the magazine was published or newspaper, and the page numbers if available. Again, remember you do not need to include page numbers for books. Finally, all entries should always end with the type of median. In this case, again, print. For internet resources, our citations will be slightly different. Again, we are following MLA format and requirements for all of our citations. So if you ever have questions, make sure you check Doc Sharing for some of the additional resources I've posted there, as well as the Purdue OWL website. For this class, we will require a certain type of citation for your internet resources, which will require you to include the full URL link so that we can double check your resources. Again, for internet sources, we always start with the author's last name, first name, and then the title of the article or page that you received the information from. Next, if you have the name of the website, you will include the name of the organization or website here and italicize that. Next, you will include the date of publication. So the date the website was published, this can usually be found by scrolling all the way down to the bottom of the internet site, and it will be found by the copyright information. Or if the date of publication is not listed, the last updated date, that can usually be found at the very bottom as well. If you have the sponsoring organization information, that will come next, and then of course the median of publication, followed by the date that you accessed it. So notice we have two dates for internet resources. The date that the company launched the web page or last updated it, and then the date that you accessed the information. This access date will always be followed by the complete URL listed. Notice the URL is listed in angled brackets. So your internet resource should look something like this. Last name if you have it, followed by first name. Again, if you don't have it, you start with the title of the article or the title of the web page. So whatever appears at the top of your internet source is what's going to be your title. You include this in quotes, as noted. Next, you would include the name of the website, italicized, followed by the date that it was either last updated or published. And then if there's the name of the organization, you can also include it here. If you don't have that, again, leave that out and continue on to the mean of publication. In this case, we're going to write web because it's a web resource, followed by the date you accessed it, and then finally listing the full URL in angled brackets. Please make special note of how the dates are listed here. Notice 12 May 2006. You'll list it in the same way. 15 February 2015. Whatever the date is that you've accessed it, you'll list dates in this format, in this manner, for MLA format. Complete details on how to cite internet sources, again, can be found at the Purdue website, which I will give you at the end of this tutorial. For internet resources with no author, as we talked about before, you will begin with the title of the document, followed by the title of the website, if available, the date of publication or last updated, followed by the sponsoring, the mean of publication, In this case, if it's internet, it will always be web, and then the date that you accessed it. Finally, I know some of you may decide to use film as one of your resources for your research paper. When citing film, make sure you include the title of the film, italicized, the director, which you will include director and the full name, the distributor and year if available, in this case Paramount Pictures, 1989, and then the medium of publication. So was it first produced DVD? Is that how you accessed it? Did you watch this film live? Did you watch it off of an internet source? So whatever type of source you watched the film off of is what you will include as the medium of publication. Finally, as mentioned before, completing your Works Cited page is extremely important. It will help you avoid plagiarism and further give your reader a clear idea of where your information came from and the validity of that information. Because your Works Cited page is so important, it's essential that you are familiar with how to cite all of your entries on your Works Cited. I've given you the basics in this tutorial, but you will find that there will be many sources that you may have additional questions about. Please make sure you visit the OWL English Purdue website or download the MLA Works Cited Rules Handbook from Doc Sharing. Both of these resources will be able to help answer any questions you may have. This is where you should go if you have any other questions regarding how to complete the Works Cited page. I know that completing an MLA Works Cited page can seem overwhelming, but I know that you can do it. With the resources provided and me here to help you, I have no doubt that you will be a success and have a great experience with MLA Works Cited pages.